Hello everyone, I'm here to give my initial thoughts on mods, and then after this video I'll kind of take some of these ideas and gameplay and turn it into recommendations for mods in Darkest Dungeon. So I kind of went over this already, but mods are really good. They definitely change the base game dramatically depending on which mods you put on. Some are very subtle, which is nice. Some are obviously just skins. Some are maybe, you know, you get a new character here, which can change the game pretty dramatically, but obviously other ones offer new bosses, new trinkets, new areas, new characters with like a lot of stuff. It's some, like I said, some change very dramatically. It changes how you play, it changes how you think about it, and it's really cool. I do recommend, if you're going to play Darkest Dungeon for the first time, now if you don't have a lot of time, yes, include mods in your first run through, because Darkest Dungeon your first time through can take a lot of time, because you're learning everything, and then on top of learning mods as well, you might be expanding your content by maybe like 1.25 or even 1.5, depending on how many mods you actually put on. Because I struggle to learn the new modded characters, and I've played this game for hundreds of hours, and it almost felt like I was playing almost brand new, because I had new enemies, new trinkets, new places, new I mean, everything was just new. I had to literally learn how to go back through and essentially play the game with the new stuff on. Now, I did it a lot quicker because I understood a lot of my gameplay mechanics and tips from earlier, so it's not like I was very bad, but I did lose a lot of people early on. Well, there's a couple reasons for that, but not understanding enemies, not understanding my characters, and making just horrible party compositions, which I'm pretty sure I freely admitted in my first like 15-20 episodes. I didn't know what the heck I was doing with some of my party comps early on. If you're a new player, and if you have a lot of time and really like Darkest Dungeon, I highly recommend just one vanilla run through. Just get the base characters down, get the base areas, all that stuff. Just get it at least to the point where you beat the game, because if you beat the game and beat all the bosses, you should be pretty good a second time through. It's pretty dramatic how fast and how efficient you can go through the second time, because I know my first gameplay to my second gameplay, I think it was like literally half the time, and then my second to third was even, I mean, you can really accelerate how quickly you beat Darkest Dungeon in a couple of playthroughs, so you don't always have to expect those. I literally can't even remember how many hours it took to do my first gameplay. I think it was somewhere between 60 and 80 hours, because I was so scared to move forward, and I was constantly losing people, where they had a lot of bad quirks. I didn't know how to manage that. My stress management was especially awful. So that really all accelerates. So if you have the time, like I said, I highly recommend at least once you play through the vanilla. Second time, oh yeah, go for it. Throw in every single mod you want to. And I'll say this now in case you start a mod campaign before I get out my mod tips, which I really want to get out before this Friday, but things have been a little tight on time recently. If you're going to pick character mods, and if you're going to add a lot, here's what you need to ask yourself. Am I okay with almost seeing zero normal, like vanilla 18 or 16 characters if you don't have the DLC? If you say yes, throw on all the mods at once. I've already said this, but I'm going to reiterate for people who may not have watched the other video. If you say no, I'd rather mods be a little bit of like a spice. You add like a mod character here or there, but 80% or more of my roster is vanilla characters. Find characters you want to play, download them, and then I believe you can always add and subtract modded characters away from campaigns in the middle. That's not necessarily the case with, I think, Crimson Court DLC and other stuff. I know mods are pretty good about taking on and off during an actual campaign. I won't say they all can without causing issues. They may be able to, but I don't know. But I know I took away modded characters. I gotta admit, I did not try to add, but other people have said as they play through and get through a couple of weeks, they then add modded characters in. And I do believe that's the way to go. I will once again, the third time, say that in my tips for mods videos, because it is very important. I found it very hard to find really good party compositions for the modded characters I got, because they're all so unique that when you threw them all together, and as I keep going back to this spice comment, because someone said it beautifully, it makes a lot of sense. It's like the vanilla characters are like your main dish, and then people made mods to complement that. Some try to make mods their own course, so to say, continue with this metaphor, and some did well, like Shivering Isles. It's its own area. It's really, I think it was really well done. The enemy comps were pretty cool there. The bosses were really cool there. One boss had me a little like, I was confused on it, but whatever, it doesn't matter too much. I thought it was a pretty good area. The modded characters themselves actually feel like spices. Adding them into the vanilla game, there was a couple of people I didn't really like, but if I thought, I was like, oh man, if I had these 2 to 3 characters who were like good, it would have been perfect. Once again, that kind of stinks because I had to throw like all these spices together and then just jam them all in my mouth at once, and there's like no substance to it for a long time, to be honest. There are more mods to do. There were mods I didn't even come close to. There are so many that I could have probably played maybe 2 to 3 mod campaigns before I even came close to really getting the full depth of what the community did. So it's just absolutely amazing what people have spent time on doing. I'm going to post the mod link, and I'm not going to go through, but huge shout out to all the creators who do these mods. It is just phenomenal, some of the work they did, the artwork, the areas, I mean, it's just phenomenal job. Definitely a large dedication towards the game. It's awesome to see a game have such a devoted community. I thoroughly enjoyed playing these mods that are indeed free. I didn't have to pay for a single, technically DLC character, so I mean, I got tens of DLC characters for free. I got new areas for free. I mean, just phenomenal work from the people who do that. Some of the new trinkets were cool and all that. I really did enjoy it. I know some days I was frustrated, but I was only frustrated because, as I stated before, I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning, and that's not something I was really used to. Once I kind of accepted it and said, you know what, I'm going to lose people, I'm going to make really bad comps, but by the end of it, it'll all come together, and it did. I found characters that I despised for the first 3 levels, and then near the end game, I was like, I don't even know why I never used these guys. I think the Slayer was one, for example. He had a couple abilities on him. I was just like, why was I ignoring him? The Thrall was kind of like a leper, and he had some really good damage. I don't know why I ignored him. Well, probably because his accuracy was terrible, and I had no one to reliably increase accuracy like a Jester, so that's probably why I avoided him. But near the end game, once I got some trinkets and other stuff, yeah, man, I really liked me a Thrall and Slayer. They were really cool. I think there's a lot of potential. Mods, certainly, they get rid of the mundane, because there are times where, man, you fight the same compositions over and over again, like in the Ruins and the Weald. It's just so much the same, and then you throw some mods in, and just bam, everything is just so new, so spicy, so different. You're losing people because you just don't know what enemies are going to do. It definitely adds a level of fear and curiosity that you kind of miss. Well, at least I kind of, pseudo did it and didn't miss, because it's honestly uncomfortable to be losing people and struggling, but at the same time, that's part of the game and competition. So I really enjoy that. I like the fact that people challenged me. I thought many of the new bosses were kind of cool. Just to highlight, obviously, 2 of the big areas / bosses that were added. Sadly, I never saw the Lumberjack. I got the event for it, and I went in there a couple of times looking for it off screen, just to see if I couldn't proc it. I could never proc the Lumberjack, and maybe I'll still occasionally try, or maybe I'll just keep that one on, see if I can't like fast forward the spawn rate of it. I really wanted to fight the Lumberjack, did not so far. I will try my best, well, not my best, but I will try sparingly to maybe get that to proc. I believe we fought the Abyssal Heart, the Banshee, and all the bosses in Sunward Isles, which there were, I think, 3 or 4. I think 3 or 4. The Banshee, oh man, that boss is tough. It's like all the other bosses in the game. I wish it kinda changed a little, because it is the same fight 3 times. It just gets significantly harder, which I get. That's how the other bosses were. But that is one of my main gripes. But the Banshee fight was tough. It was good. Now, the Sunward Isles bosses, I liked those because you were always fighting a new boss. I don't think there was a single replication of a boss in Sunward Isles, and that was really cool. Because every time you went in somewhere new, you're like, oh, uh-oh, what am I fighting today, you know? There was one boss where I think you just started out in the boss battle area, which is pretty cool. One was, I think, a pre-built room in 4 directions. The other one was a long dungeon. I thankfully guessed correctly where to go. So Sunward Isles really did have a lot of variations and cool stuff. I highly recommend that one. There is, like I said, there's one. I don't want to ruin anything if you haven't seen my full mod campaign, but there is one boss that's a little weird. It was probably my least favorite boss because of just how gimmicky it was. However, it is possible to do without just relying on RNG. It initially appears to be that way, but it's really not. There's a couple strategies you can do, but it's just kind of funny, the initial fighting of it, of course. But yeah, so highly recommend Somewhere Isles. It's a new area, adds a lot of depth to it, a lot of new trinkets, a lot of strong trinkets. And finally, to wrap this up, my thoughts on inventory stacking, more spaces, and more trinkets, that's really up to you. Some people say more trinkets, more inventory makes the game too easy. I honestly do not think the more inventory makes the game easier. Unless you mean easier by speeding up the game. It does speed up the game, because I mean, you're never, when you go in, your provisions take up less spots. When you take stuff, they take up less spots. It really does just allow you to get more loot, and also not have to micromanage right away your inventory, which is technically easier. It really reduces that grinding time, because that's really just the big part, right? You're just going in to get money. So this just allows you to get a little more money faster. But you still have to play the dungeons well, you still have to fight the enemies well, there's still a calculated risk you have to take. Like, how many more fights do I actually want to take? Yes, I can hold the loot, but is it worth it losing people possibly? So you still have to make those considerations. Like I said, the trinkets, I mean, honestly, 4 trinkets can really boost someone up really high. That's up to you. I did occasionally off screen just load my party with 16 trinkets, and yeah, man, you can shred pretty well with some 4 level trinket people. And I wasn't even using people in the vanilla game. I was thinking some people, well, I did have a highwayman, and I tell you what, man, with some crit trinkets, speed trinkets, and some accuracy trinkets, his riposte was just dirty. So I can understand why some people be turned off by that. I believe in almost all of my mod footage, I almost never put on, I don't think I even put on 3 trinkets. So, but that's obviously up to you. The reason why I only put on 2 trinkets was just to keep some level of difficulty throughout the whole thing. I do think 4 trinkets in the middle to late game would make the game significantly easier. So we talked about stacking, increased inventory, and trinkets. And finally, there's faster animations and faster walking. I think if you've played the game, probably at least the faster walking, I will admit, always put on. Even if it's your first time through, put it on. There's nothing that's gained from walking slowly. Now, but what I will say about the animations is, if you haven't seen people's animations, absolutely play them at normal speed. Because when an enemy attacks you, you want to know what the attack looks like, what it does, what it's called, so you know how to counter it. If enemy abilities are just like going like bam, 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 you're like, I don't remember which one does which. That's really bad, because that's obviously how you're going to fight the rest of the game. I kept it on the whole time. Well, not the whole time, actually. I think the first 15 episodes, I wanted, well, aesthetically, people did mods very well. So I actually wanted to see how they like drew out their attacks and stuff. And they're really cool. Now, after about episode 20, I really wanted to speed things up. You'd be surprised how much time you save with faster walking and faster animations. So if you are a YouTube creator, it's great. You can do more content in less time. You can do more dungeons quicker. You can get like 2 dungeons in 25 minutes rather than 2 dungeons in 32 minutes, right? That's 7 to 8 minutes. It's huge for someone like me. Now, if you play casually and you don't really care about the speed, once again, that's up to you. I know some people, they really like the animations, and it makes sense. I like the animations as well. It's just I was on a time crunch between playing this game, making other videos that I personally extremely appreciated sped up mechanics. I'm sure there's a lot more mods I didn't talk about. There was the Hero Prison one, which is pretty cool. There were skins that I had throughout the game, which I recognized were pretty cool. So there were a lot of cool things, and there's even more I didn't do. There's a lot of classes I didn't even touch. I'm sorry, like I said, there were some classes, man, I just couldn't even get into because I felt like the modded characters I had just couldn't support each other. If I was to do another one, I think I'd pull those people in and then just have my vanilla characters. But as of right now, awesome mods out there. Highly recommend you do at least one mod playthrough. I never did it, but after doing it, I gotta admit, it was a blast. I was a little skeptical because people were like, oh, add these mods, add these mods. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, people, like, fans make these. I don't know how, like, balanced or fun it's got. And it was a blast. It was just an absolute blast. People made great mods. I can't get over it. I mean, I really did. I almost played a brand new game for free. And in today's world, that is very unheard of. It's very awesome. That's why I always love to keep highlighting the Darkest Dungeon community. Fans who recommend mods, obviously the people who make mods, and obviously people who showcase and do tips on the mods and all that stuff. Awesome stuff, awesome community. Always a proud part to be a part of it, to show it, to play it, and I just want to pay my respects. Thank you so much.